standards of other areas, sometimes you have to look outside of Russia to the West.
Can you give me a profession, one profession, as an example? Like if you have it, if you have skills in this certain trade, you can come to Russia, show your diploma, your CV, and you get a brilliant job, which is well paid, just like this.
Well, I would say, obviously, one of the interesting careers is recruitment. But had I not done recruitment 13 years ago, I guess I'd have looked at moving into some kind of investment banking field.
Investment banking. You've mentioned that before, yeah.
That's where I guess everything is moving very quickly at the moment. With hindsight, going back, I guess if you forge a career in the early days, work very, very hard, have the right qualifications, move into a training scheme or an entry-level position with one of the big houses.
Are we talking about top managing positions or all the way through the pyramid?
All the way through the pyramid. I mean, you generally start off at the beginning, you work your way up. The career progress in Russia is far faster than for comparative positions, comparative countries in the West, purely because there's an absolute lack of skills in certain disciplines. Some of the new functions, say retail, for example, retail in a Western sense did exist 5 years ago, but some of the skills weren't really there, they weren't developed.
Is the paychecks and the benefits and bonuses people get comparable to what they get elsewhere?
It's comparable. It very much depends on the industry sector. If you look at IB once again, if you have a job that cannot be filled in Russia because the skills don't exist, or the skills may exist but your competitors employ the people and you can't get hold of them, what do? The job still needs to be done. You either import those skills in from outside or you look to one of your competitors. Sometimes the only way to do it is to put a very good potential check on the table that's going to bring somebody to the country.
Well, you mentioned making a career here. So do you think that people that are coming here, we'll say a specialist from London, is coming to work in Moscow, doing well what he did there, but try to make it here? Is it usually for money or for a career, like for his CV?
I don't speak to many people who come to Russia purely for their CV. There has to be generally something else other than money that brings somebody to Russia.
What? The fun? The extreme?
Well, there's. I've already said there's some negatives about Russia in the Western press. That doesn't seem to be balanced with all the positives that you see once you're here. People, once we call them and say, how about a career in Russia, tend to think straight away of 9 months of snow. We very quickly put them right. Clearly there are opportunities here. The way we sell Russia is that, Russia, or rather Moscow, to be precise, is one of the 3 or 4 global big cities.
So you admit that Moscow still gives better opportunities?
Absolutely,
than the part there are jobs elsewhere, but Moscow is like the major headhunter.
For most disciplines. So Moscow's a great city. Moscow's fun. It's 24 hours a day. There are other attractions to coming to Russia. Most of the single expatriate men you speak to coming to Russia are coming here. They hear that Russian girls are beautiful, and that's certainly not insignificant.
Very expensive.
I wouldn't know.
We had a guy here sitting in front of me who came to Russia to marry, and he's been here for like 10 years. He can't marry; it's too expensive.
I have no comment. I'm married to a Russian.
You're married to a Russian?
Yes, I am.
So you don't want to talk about it?
No, I've exported her to the UK.
So is it a yes or a no?
I'm not answering your question.
Okay, well, what are the things? We know lots of people come here, work here for a while. Some people get addicted, but some people go away. What are the things, the negative things, that make people quit the opportunity and return back?
It can be frustrating if the candidate originally hasn't had experience in Russia. They'll find it quite frustrating working in Russia. There are challenges here.
We'll talk about it in a minute. Just to remind you that our guest today is Tremayne Elson, head of an international recruitment agency in Moscow. Spotlight will be back shortly, right after this, so don't go away. welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Al Grinov, and just to remind you that our guest today is Tremayne Elson, who has been headhunting in Moscow for the last 13 years. Well, we started talking about the drawbacks of Russian life, of the frustrations that may make people quit a good opportunity, quit a good job opportunity here, and go back from where he is. Let's be more specific on that. Except the 9 months of snow, the alleged 9 months. This year we had 2 months of snow. What else?
I guess it's for those people that haven't had much cultural interaction with Russia. There's a perception that Russia is geographically part of Europe, but it is one step beyond Central Europe, which is one step beyond Western Europe, which you could argue is one step beyond somewhere like the UK. The cultural differences are immense. I'd even say, looking at someone like Japan or India, the differences are as extreme. They don't appear extreme on the surface, but once you walk into a Russian workplace, traditions, Russian culture, you need to have a good understanding of what's...
You mean different culture, different ways of communicating, doing things, yeah?
That's right. Also, the difference between the Russian style of management and the Western style of management can be quite challenging to somebody who's had very little exposure to Russia, particularly if they're working in a Russian company. Just understanding that the politics of a large Russian organisation, comparing that to the experience that person would have had in the West.
Are Russian managers tougher on the personnel than the Western managers?
One of the things that took me a long time to come to grips with in Russia is people are more direct here. The British always have a reputation as being quite polite and taking a long time to get around to making a point. The Russians are very direct. That's sometimes...
So he tells you into the eye whatever he thinks about the work you do.
He'll tell you out straight what he thinks.
And that doesn't mean you're fired?
It doesn't mean you're fired, but the person saying it in the West could be fired for being direct.
Yeah.
So that's often quite difficult to take, and I've seen many quite well-experienced expatriates leave Russia because of political problems with their Russian management or the owners of the company.
Political correctness?
It depends how you interpret political correctness, but essentially...
Sexual harassment, things like that.
I guess legislation is there, but Russians aren't particularly litigious on things like that, and certainly Russians that I know who work overseas, particularly in the States, have been pulled in one case 10 times by her HR function for wearing skirts that were too short, for flirting with staff, and so on and so on, which is, it's accepted here, and I'd say even maybe one of the benefits of coming here.
So that's a benefit, okay.
Possibly.
What about the language? Russian language is pretty difficult. It is one of the most difficult languages to learn and to start communicating with people. Is it a must, is it a necessity to learn Russian, spoken Russian at least, to find a job here?
We would generally require at least some aptitude for languages. Not necessarily fluent Russian, but going back to the cultural point, if you're going to be accepted in a Russian organisation, or in fact any organisation, because by definition majority of employees will be Russian nationals, just to make an effort to speak Russian goes a long way. It's unfortunate, I know a large number of people here who have been here for 3, 4, 5 years and never really made an effort to learn any Russian, which I think is pretty sad, because it detracts from one of the benefits of being in Russia, which is the Russian culture and interaction on the weekends, in the evening. A lot of my friends don't speak any English. I speak to them in Russian, and that really adds a different dimension to being here.